Hey everybody, I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are riding on the lifeboat. Alrighty, so it's Saturday, people, and if you saw the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about head games, things that your brain does to you that you really need to kind of keep a bit of a tight rein on if you want to remain sober and you want to remain healthy and doing the right thing, right? It's not always just about, eventually you've been sober long enough that it's becomes more than that. If you've got some sobriety under your belt, you find yourself starting to look at some of the bigger picture things about you that you didn't like. I need to concentrate on this, or I need to concentrate on that. And, I don't feel like I'm in any danger of using drugs. I really don't. A lot of it probably has to do with my support system. I have a vicious support system. I have thousands of people that listen to me do this. And I've got a family that really, really cares, both birth family and secondary family, the one that we chose. So all of that makes me feel like I'm pretty solid, right? But there are other pitfalls that you can fall into in a really quick fashion. For instance, I'm a YouTuber, right? For better or for worse, I'm a YouTuber. And YouTube comes with its own set of traps and problems and things that you can fall into. In the best of circumstances, YouTube is a place that you can bring people together from all over the world, and you can concentrate on what makes all of us exactly the same. And it doesn't have to be the same thing at every channel, right? You could concentrate on people that just love Matchbox cars and they collect them. And somebody from England can have a conversation with somebody from India who can have a conversation with somebody from Canada because they're all sharing one thing. And the rest of it doesn't really mean anything, right? The politics of your country, whatever. We're talking about die-cast cars. So with the lifeboat, it's the best possible case scenario because obviously there's a lot of people on this planet who are addicted to drugs and alcohol. And this really just levels the playing field and shows us all that, whether you're from the good old US of A or you're from any other part of the world, an addict is an addict is an addict, right? We all share the same things. So at its best, that's what this platform and social media in general is capable of. The big red button is one of the best opportunities to get a platform where you can go and talk to massive amounts of people right from Jump Street. You have an opportunity to try to build a platform to get your message, whatever that message has to be, out to the masses. Now, the trouble with that is sometimes it turns you into a high school kid or an elementary school kid, and you start worrying about who's more popular. Is this guy more popular? And you see people that start firing back and forth at each other. You've all seen the troll games and all of the other stupid things that can happen. One of the other things that can happen, and I really have to be reticent of this, and it's something that I have to concentrate on because it's a trap I could fall into. And I talked about this a couple of times on the morning videos. I don't know that I ever covered it at night, but you always run the risk of starting to believe your own press clippings, as my football coach used to say. A lot of people write a lot of nice stuff, and I understand why. I really do. This is a place where we've built something, and everybody has an opportunity to come here and hang out with family. And because of that, it's very possible that people can credit me with that family. And I'll take credit for exactly what I had to do with this, which was coming up with an idea. And then, truthfully, the idea took on a life of its own because of the people that showed up here in the beginning. Honestly, it's more your boat than mine. I just get a really good seat because I came up with the idea. Now, that said, 3,600, and I'll be honest, I don't know, but 3,600 and some odd people. And we've been stalled at 3,600 for a really long time. And I don't care. And I'm telling you that is the gospel truth. I don't care. But last week, I found myself caring. Last week, I found myself buying into stuff that I shouldn't be buying into. Last week, I found myself concentrating on things that I shouldn't be concentrating on. Is it a character defect? It's an addicted mind. My brain is looking for angles constantly. It's always looking for an angle. Ooh, there's a spot. There's a spot. He's tripping on how many people he's got on the lifeboat. And he's afraid that the things that he says might run some of them off. And then, you know what? We had a little bit of drama, and that drama sort of made me focus back on what the boat was supposed to be. The goal was 6 people. If I could help 6 people, I would have been satisfied. And then if by some chance I was lucky enough to help 6 people, well, then I would try to help 6 more. And if you've never heard that story, you can go back and watch it. I don't want to take up a lot of this show telling that story again because it's been told on the boat many times. But I know I'm past 6. Doesn't take any ego trip to recognize that we've helped way more than 6 people. So this is a success. And when I changed up the thought processes on the big red button and how the boat applies to the big red button, the show got better, at least according to every single one of you, because there's nobody that hasn't reached out to me. The number of people that have reached out and said, man, what you're doing, don't stop doing it. This is a much better product, especially for people who haven't seen the boat before. We have a much better chance of reaching people. And it got me thinking, one of the reasons we were paused was probably my fault. I spent a lot of time talking with people, and if you just stopped by the channel, it looked like, I was either having a conversation with imaginary friends, or this was, like a boys club or a clubhouse where if you weren't part of it, then, maybe you should just take off because we know everybody here. And it would have been a bad look, I think, for somebody just showing up. Regardless, the reason I'm bringing this up is every once in a while, something will happen to you and it's like, right? You get this light bulb that goes off. I started watching a lot of people on YouTube, and there are people for whom this platform is dangerous. There are people for whom this platform can become a drug. It can become an obsession. It can become a lot of things. And I get emails from you people accusing me of that. Nicely. No one's ever being cruel when they say it, but we're worried that you're in this too deep. People, this is a very big part of my sobriety. And it's something I really feel like I ought to be doing. But the reason I don't feel like there's going to be a whole lot of danger in this for me is because if this time next year I have 2,700 subscribers instead of 3,600, but there are people showing up here and trying to help one another, I'm cool. And I lost sight of that. I truthfully did. I lost sight of that. And I won't tell you what, but something happened that just made me really focus on the boat and on what this means, right? And I'll be honest with you, man. If I'm trying to get a silver play button, or if I'm trying to justify my existence on this planet by keeping track of how many of those people have hit the subscribe button, then I'm a loser. Sorry, I am. My mission should have nothing to do with that. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want more people here because we can help more people. Of course I do. Of course I do. But of the 3,600 people that have hit the subscribe button on here, how many of them still need help? Trust me, we could spend the rest of our life just helping those 3,600. And boy, if the time came to get off of this planet and I could think to myself, there was about 3,000 people I helped with their sobriety. Holy mackerel, that's a little bit bigger than I set my sights for, isn't it? It's a lot more than 6. I was told there would be no math. I'm not going to divide that up, but I'm betting it's a whole lot more than 6. So, I just thought I would share that. It was on my mind. It's been on my mind for a hot minute. I'm going to be honest with you since yesterday. It's just something that's been going on in my mind and going on in my mind and going on in my mind. And I'll tell you something else. If I come here and start yelling at you people, if I start yelling at the crew of the lifeboat and cursing and getting crazy, please let me have it. Go over to the email and let me know that that's not who I am and that that's not what this channel is. Please. I don't ever want the stresses of this of what I do here to turn me into somebody that I'm not. And if I ever start doing that crap, somebody better call me on it, other than Alan Ballantyne, who I assure you would call me on it. But just thought I would throw that out there. So, you know what? One of the first things I want to talk about tonight is pride. Because pride gets a lot of bad ink. Man, pride really gets a lot of bad, I shouldn't say that. Because recently, all of a sudden, pride started to be a new catchword. In the days of Shakespeare, if you look at Shakespearean plays, every single person who has a tragedy befall them in Shakespeare, their sin was pride. Shakespeare was absolutely preoccupied with it. And I think that he was such a great author and his works were so ubiquitous, right? They were everywhere, that it somehow translated through time that, pride comes before the fall, right? All of these things that, pride's not a good thing, pride's not a good thing, pride's not a good thing. Recently, pride became something that required absolutely, you could be proud of nothing. You could be proud of something just because of the way you were born, right? If you were born, well, as long as you weren't born a heterosexual white person. I'm sorry. But you know what I'm saying? We have gay pride parades. We have, this pride, that pride. I think pride should be in something that you do. I do. And I don't think pride should be something that that should be considered a dirty word. In fact, quite the opposite. I think pride is one of the most important emotions that you're going to be able to master if you're going to stay sober. I think it's absolutely essential that you get pride and develop it and control it if you want to remain sober. And the really sad thing is this: the day you put down the bottle, the day you put down your bag of dope, the day that you stop doing what you have been doing for a year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, insert your number there. But the very day you set that down is the day that pride would do you more good than any other day in your life. And it is the one day that pride is the absolute lowest it's ever going to be. In fact, in place of pride, you have shame. Because when people hit rock bottom and they set down the bottle or they set down their substance of choice, it's not done with a, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's one of the reasons that the boat got so much potential. Truthfully, my son came here yesterday, and I don't think Spanx is here today. I think he is working a concert. He does a lot of work as a roadie. I think he may be working a concert today. But he came here yesterday, the first day that he put down the bottle. And every person here said, you know what, I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And I'm going to tell you the truth, because my son and I had a long discussion about this. And I said, he does not have a problem with me taking this journey with him and sharing it with everybody here. But when that show was over, he called me and said, man, I wish that wasn't over. I wish that kept going. You people did wonders for him. True story. You did wonders for him. And you understand why, right? Because that's the day that he needs pride more than any other day. That's the day that he needs to know his dad's proud of him, his mom's proud of him, all of the people here are proud of him. And we need to continue that, whether it's my kid, your kid, nobody's kid, somebody that just wanders onto the boat. The day that you decide, I'm going to stop this, that's the day that pride will do unbelievable amounts for you in your life. And you're not going to have it. You would never have it. It's not logical. It isn't. Society tells you that you got no right being proud of that, right? They beat this into you 20 years, 30 years, depending on how long you've been using, right? Up until the moment you quit, society has told you the only reason you're doing this, you're a weakling. You're a weakling. There's nothing that you could be proud about because you ended up here because you're a loser, not because you have a medical condition. So as a group of people who welcome individuals who are trying to get sober, man, I don't think there's much more that we could do for somebody than let them know that we are proud of them, right? Because honestly, that's the day. When people come on here and they say, hey, I'm celebrating 12 years, that's cool as hell. It really is. But it's not as exciting, is it? As when somebody comes on here and says, hey, man, I quit today. Right? That's the most exciting thing in the world. Those first 4 or 5 days. Nothing's ever going to be more important than those first 4 or 5 days. And they should be proud of it. They should be proud of the fact that they're willing to take this journey. Because let's be really honest, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. You guys ever been on a really scary roller coaster? And you're in line and you're watching as you're getting closer and closer and you're counting the heads. All right, so there's 4 people to a car. There's 4 cars. That's 14, 32. Damn, we're next. And your heart starts doing this one. You get on that thing and they kick it on. There's no turning it off. You're there for the ride. There's no turning back. But how many times do you think people would have said, I'm out on the first turn? Forget it. Or that sort of bucking backwards, you get to the top of that. If they were given the opportunity right there to say, I'm done. I don't want to do this. It's way higher than I thought it was going to be. Can you let me off? You think a lot of people would get off of those things? I'm telling you they would. Sadly, That's what somebody on day one is facing. They're thinking of all of the just daunting things in front of them. The first time they got to talk to their friends, the first time that they go out to dinner, the first time that someone says, hey, you want to go to a bar? First time right after work, somebody says, hey, I got a case over in the car. All of the things that first couple of days, you start feeling like you're a freak. You start feeling like there's something wrong with you, and that ugly journey in front of you and the fear of the unknown, man, your brain wants to go back to what it knows. People, if I haven't drummed that into you, your brain wants to go back to what it knows. It does not want anything unique to happen. It doesn't want a new life. It doesn't want improvement. I know that seems counterintuitive, right? Because you read books about, the brain and how you can do anything you want. Well, that's not what your brain wants you to do. It's not. I just finished basically learning the story of a Navy SEAL who did 3 hell weeks in a year. The first time he tried to become a SEAL, there was an injury and he wasn't able to do it, but he made it through Hell Week. And then the second time, this happened 3 times. He did 3 Hell Weeks in 1 year. And he ran with broken bones. At one point, he had a broken shin that he was duct taping. And when they interviewed him and said, how is this even possible, right? How do you end up becoming a SEAL after all of that? And he said, because I came to realize that my brain was not my friend. I came to realize that my brain didn't want me to do any of this. My brain wanted me to be 290 pounds, working spraying for cockroaches for $15 an hour. That's what my brain wanted. And once I understood that, I was just going to keep shoving my brain around until the time came that it caved in. He said he couldn't swim, and he'd get in the pool, just couldn't do it. So he came back the next day, and he came back the next day, and he came back the next day, and he came back the next day. And to hear them doing an interview, he must have said it 9 times. He said, one of us was going to quit, and it wasn't going to be me. My brain was going to tap out. And the insane thing is this. He had trouble with the books. He had trouble, he couldn't swim. All of these different things that he had to overcome, that he would just come back every day. Never, ever say die. Just keep coming back every day to do the exact same thing. He found out that he couldn't study the way other people studied. He just couldn't get it. Even the entrance exam to get into the military, he couldn't pass. And then somebody said to him, if you write down what you're studying, just copy it onto a piece of paper. You'll learn it differently, I promise. Because that's how I used to learn. And I know that we're like the same individual. So he would copy an entire page that he's reading and just write it all out. And he found that didn't work. But if he did it 2 or 3 times, it would. That man's a Navy SEAL today. He was 290 pounds when he signed up for the military. 290. I don't care if you're 6'8", that's too big to be a Navy SEAL. 290, you're not going through Hell Week at 290. He lost 105 pounds. Just kept coming back. But the thing that just jumped off the page and slapped me in the face is that this man said, I figured out my brain wasn't my friend. It wanted me to be what I used to be. And one of us was going to quit, and it was not going to be me. It was going to be my brain. If you shove every chip into the center of the table, knowing full well, having just heard what I said, that your brain does not want you to win and that you're going to have to keep coming back every day and it's going to be a struggle and it's going to suck and you're not going to get support from the people that love you the most. They're not going to understand anything that you're going through. If you still shove all of your chips into the center of the table, you think you deserve a little pride? Think you deserve a pat on the back? You damn right you do. I can't have any control whatsoever how the world is going to treat anybody trying to get sober. But I'd like to believe that I've got a little bit of control over how we'll treat somebody that shows up on the lifeboat. And if somebody comes here for day one, we are going to let that person know we're proud of them. We're going to let that person know that what they're embarking on is epic and that they chose to do it. Nobody's shoving them into it. They're putting those chips in the middle of the table. They came here, they're making that decision on their own, but they're not going to do this on their own. We're going to let them know right from Jump Street that we got their back for every single part of this. When it gets really, really difficult and when nothing seems to make sense, that they're going to come right here and we're going to make it make sense. But pride is a game that the brain plays. You know, it makes you believe that you're an idiot for being proud of anything having to do with recovery. In fact, it wants you to be ashamed of it. It does. Now, obviously, if the brain's not on your side, and if the brain wants the status quo, which is you getting stoned or you getting high or you getting whatever, looped for the last 10 years, well, then we know why your brain doesn't want, you to be successful. We know why your brain wants you to feel guilty and to feel shame, right? That's just human nature. It's the way it works. Sadly, society has taken that to a whole new level. Society's taken that to a whole new level. There is nobody on late night television. There's nobody anywhere that would not hesitate in a nanosecond to drop a really good joke about an alcoholic. No problem at all, right? They have no problem using words like junkie, tweaker, lush, drunk, bum, loser. They'll rattle those off, right? Everybody in social media, this quick. They wouldn't say that about somebody with leukemia. They sure as hell wouldn't say that about somebody that was a diabetic or somebody that was born with any other kind of disease. Once again, people, that's society doing that to somebody at the time that they need the most pride that they're ever going to have. Not only don't they have that pride, they have shame in its place, right? Society wants you to be ashamed of getting addicted to drugs. You don't get out of this without a get out of jail free pass, right? You got to feel guilty. Damn it, you did this. Look at all the people you hurt. I did a show a couple of days ago about how you can own your past. You can own your past and forgive yourself at the exact same time. And if that doesn't sound like it makes sense, double back and watch it, because I promise you it does. You absolutely can do that. But that's what society has done. And think about it. You're feeding a brain that wants to destroy this poor guy anyway. And what do? We give him ammunition. That person already starts out buried. And I'm not talking out my wazoo. My son is going through this. He's going through that guilt right now. And his dad runs the lifeboat, right? If Spanx is going to feel guilty and not feel pride, what do you think somebody whose dad doesn't understand is going to go through? Once again, there's nothing we can do about society making people feel shame about trying to get sober. There is nothing we can do about that. But we can do a whole hell of a lot what happens right here. Right here. And you know what, people? Whether it's 3,600 or it's 2,600, we're going to do everything we can for the people here that they deserve to have pride in what they're getting ready to do or in the middle of doing, because that's huge. You're sick of hearing this, but in the very near future, somebody is going to say to me, as I get all the time, if I was to send somebody to the lifeboat to watch one show, what would be the first one you'd send them to? I'm hoping this is going to be it. The window show, right? If this is your window of opportunity, this is one that I think would be absolutely important. That anyone getting ready to get sober would see. I beat this to death, but I'm going to keep beating it. How many times does somebody famous get an award for what they're good at, for what they do best? I was just watching a clip today, one of the shorts, when I don't remember whether it was a Golden Globe or an Academy Award. I don't remember what it was, but it was for the guy that plays Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. And when he was getting the award, just like everybody else that wins an award for what they do, when they're asked what they have the most pride in their life about, they say getting sober. Because whatever he does for a living wasn't that hard. Elton John, right? He's had more hits than anybody. He's had hits in 5 decades. The man's won a Grammy. He's won an Academy Award. He's won a Tony. The guy's won everything. He has his feet on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame. What are you most proud of all of those achievements? Getting sober. No question. Eric Clapton, same story. Because what we're doing is hard. What we're doing is difficult as hell. And sadly, your brain doesn't want you to be a success. And society wants you to be a success, providing you feel like dog crap about it. Providing you feel really, really bad about it. Or, just as bad, hide it. Right? I got an email from somebody, and I won't say if it's a husband versus a wife or a wife versus a husband, but I got an email from somebody that said, my significant other said to me, we're going to a gathering, and my significant other said, don't tell anybody here that you have a drug problem or that you're trying to get sober. Here's the thing, peeps. I understand why they say that. I really do. I understand why they say that. In their own head, they're trying to protect their loved one, whether it's their wife or their husband. They don't want anybody at the party thinking, or picking on or thinking anything bad about the person that they love. But what they don't realize is it's like sticking a knife into the person's heart and turning it. They're doing something that is harder than anything they've ever done, and they're proud as hell about it. Man, I got clean. I got clean. The funny thing is, I guarantee you, every single person at that party knew that either he or she was an alcoholic. There's nobody there that didn't know. But we'll just let them think you're still using it. Don't tell them you're getting sober. Whatever you don't do that. We can't control it, people. There's nothing we can do to control that. Outside this boat, there is not a damn thing we can do to control that. But inside this boat, we're going to be better than that. We really are. We are going to be better than that. Inside this boat, if somebody shows up here, we are going to ensure that they get treated the way that they're supposed to. As far as head games go, one of the other ones that really is raw when you first get clean is jealousy. This is another game that your brain is going to start to wear you down with. Like as I said, right? When you need pride the absolute most is when you have it the least. But all of a sudden, instead of being in back alleys or being in bars or being wherever, instead of you being isolated, apart from society in every single way, all of a sudden, you're starting to re-enter society. I mean, even if it's in small amounts or whatever, you're going to begin paying attention to other things. When you first stop dedicating every moment of your life to drugs, you're re-entering society. It just happens. And you're re-entering society at your most vulnerable place that you've ever been. And very often, that drives us to start comparing ourselves to other people in every single way possible, right? Every single way possible. You'll compare your sobriety. Man, that dude's doing so much better than me. Honest to God, I mean, that dude, he's got his life together, right? He's been sober 6 years, 5 years, 3 years, whatever the case may be. Look at him. He's happy all the time. Number one, no one's ever happy all the time. No one's happy all the time. You're seeing them happy because that's when you see them, right? They put that on just like everybody else does. But if you start comparing yourself to somebody about anything, how much sobriety you got, what kind of car the person drives, where the person lives, the fact that when we were getting loaded and screwing up our entire life, that guy was becoming a doctor. You know what, people? There's no control. None. Jealousy is one of the absolute most worthless emotions in the whole world. Because even if you didn't ever use, even if you never did anything, right? If only I didn't use, if only I didn't get high that first time, if only I didn't marry that woman, if only I didn't do, you could say if only till the end of time. But like we talked about the other day, the acorn inside that little thing is an oak tree waiting to happen. Every single bit of genetics that needs to happen for that thing to become an oak tree is in that acorn. Sadly, an acorn never gets the crap kicked out of it by a parent that says, you're not a good tree. Your brother's a much better oak tree. Or any of the other things that tend to drag people down. They didn't get abused by their older sibling tree, whatever. But imprinted on you at birth was the best possibility of what you could be. So don't compare that to somebody else's, what they could be. It's pointless. When you start comparing yourself to other people, you're setting yourself up for an absolute disaster. Sure, if only I had a better job. It's another great one. But you understand, comparing yourself to anybody else at any level, or doing that rear view mirror crap, if only. If only, if only, if only, if only, if only. But very often those if onlys start out as jealousy. Well, yeah, I mean, he's a doctor, but if only I had parents like he did, they're rich as hell. If only I had tutors when I was 6 years old, or if only I had an opportunity to go to a prep school. Man, don't go down that road. Don't go down that road. How much control have you got over what we've done up to today? Even yesterday, what control have you got over what you did prior to 5 o'clock Pacific time tonight? It's gone. It's not a damn thing you can do about it. So you're stupid if you sit and study it for any other reason other than to learn. If you start going back and bumming out about it and dragging yourself through the calls, it's not going to make you any better. On the contrary, it's going to make you worse. You're giving your brain ammunition. Your brain's going like this. It's back there rolling up its sleeves. Ooh, he's feeling guilty. Ooh, he's feeling jealous. I'll have him in a bottle of Jack Daniels by 9 o'clock tonight. We got this. I'm going to get him right back to baseline, right back to where we want to be. Not having to work, not having to try to rationalize things, not having to try to get through a day. He'll just jump back in the bottle. And we can just recline, put our hands up, do nothing. Everything I'm talking about right now, people, is an opportunity for your brain to get its foot in the door and cause you to relapse. All of these things. If onlys. If you start catching yourself doing the if only thing, call somebody, right? I was going to save that until the bitter end, but in case somebody burns off early on the boat, the cure to every one of these things, if you start letting this get from the emotional to the mental, right, where you're just relapsing off of this stuff right here, call somebody. Call him and be honest. Man, I just saw a guy I went to high school with. He's driving a friggin' Ferrari. He's got a 5'10" tall blonde woman on his wrist who's got to be wearing a $200,000 wristwatch. And right now I feel like a loser. I was a better student than this guy and it's killing me and I got to talk to somebody. Watch how fast that'll fix you. Think I'm wrong? If talking to people about the things that were driving you crazy didn't fix you, there wouldn't be a lifeboat. Believe that. Because I've stayed sober by that method. That's my method. When I feel like something's starting to get out of control with me, I talk to people about it. Sometimes entire groups of them, sometimes one-on-one, but getting it out, shining the light on it will destroy it. Don't hold it inside. Whether it's jealousy, whether it's pride or lack of pride or shame, get it out. The next one, people, and I don't know, this, for my money, this might be the brain's favorite in terms of really messing you up. In terms of really starting to drive you back to where you were on day one of your sobriety. And that's that 4-letter word, starts with an F, fear, right? There is nothing your brain can run wild with faster than fear. And sadly, we live in a time right now that's scary as hell. I know I add to it. In some ways, I absolutely add to it. When I come on here and I do a show talking about how the fifth, the fifth level or the fifth incarnation of warfare is now chemical and it's being done through drugs, that's not helping anybody stay calm. I realize that. It's still a message that has to be told. Sadly, that's just the truth. Thank you. But fear in the world we live in, you can choose how much of it you expose yourself to, right? You can go put on the evening news and, you think about the evening news. All right, so I go and watch a half an hour of it, but it doesn't go off. See, when we were little kids, the news would come on for 30 minutes and then it was gone. News doesn't go away. We have 24-hour news channels. And over the course of 2 hours, you'll see the same scary as hell story 15 times. And then you'll see people interviewed about the scary as hell story. And they'll give you their opinion on why it's really scary. Limit your exposure to things. If it's starting to mess with your serenity, turn it off. Walk away from it. It's really one of those situations, people, that in all of these, if you find yourself being dragged down by any of these things, and fear is huge, fear of the unknown, fear of the future, fear of what people are going to think of you. That first day of getting sober, this is what I'm talking about when I said it's like that roller coaster. Fear will destroy you. How do you get rid of it? You talk to somebody about it. And there's something really beautiful about saying to somebody, I'm trying to get sober and I'm just going to be honest with you, man, I'm scared. And they go, of course you're scared. Yeah, I was. Holy crap. I was terrified. Just hearing somebody say that. Just realizing that you're not the center of the universe and you're not the first person to ever get terrified at the prospect of having to live without a substance in their life. That every single person who ever quit was scared. That knowledge is huge. That knowledge very often is enough to put somebody back onto the road to recovery. If fear starts weighting you down, right? Number one, limit it, because there are things that we can do to cut out fear in some ways. But if your fear is about the things I was just talking about, what are people going to think about me? How am I going to get through a day without this? I have used this to get through every single day of my life for the last 15 years, 20 years. How am I going to get through a day without this? If that is overwhelming you, pick up a telephone. Send an email. Text somebody. Tell them what's up. I'm hurting. I'm scared. I'm scared. I need you. That's what the 5's for, people. The 5 is so that you can have people that go, yeah, don't trip. You called the right guy. You called the right guy. I'm your guy. I'll be your Huckleberry. Dial my phone number. That's why we do this. That's why this works. You understand? And it was people way smarter than me. If I came up with this as a concept, I'd tell you to run. Because I'm not that bright. But the people that came up with this were very bright. So don't suffer in silence. Works for every single one of these things that I'm talking about. If you're suffering from head games and those head games are brought on by yourself, don't suffer in silence. You understand? The next one, cravings. Obviously, this one is huge. This one is absolutely huge, especially in the beginning, especially during that first week. If this is a concept that you don't understand, and it may sound stupid for me to say that out loud, but there are people who don't understand what cravings are. And I mean people who get them every day, but just don't know that that's what they're feeling. When I talk about being uncomfortable in your own skin, for many people, the definition of that is the craving, where you sit down on the couch and instantly every single fiber of your body is telling you to use, right? That's a craving. And it makes you so uncomfortable that you start doing this number with your hands. I mean, we've all seen it in movies, but that's real. You're just so uncomfortable in your own skin. And the only thing that's going to make that go away is picking up a telephone and calling somebody that's been there themselves. I promise you, it will do the same thing. It will do the same thing. And the question becomes, who's going to quit first? Is it going to be you or is it going to be your brain? You might have to go back day after day after day. You might have to call your sponsor or one of the people on the 5 every day for a year before you train your brain to where your brain goes, fine. Apparently this sober crap is the new baseline now. Because that's what we're shooting for. For your brain to tap out. Okay, apparently we're not doing the dope anymore. And it happens to every single sober person in the world. Eventually the brain goes, okay, all right. If this is what you're going to do, I guess we'll let you roll with it. So who's going to quit first? If it's you against your brain alone, there's a really good chance your brain's going to win that fight. There's a real good chance your brain's going to win that fight because it knows every insidious trick in the book. It knows how to work boredom. It knows how to work happiness. Hey, man, I just got a pay raise. Your brain's going, more money, happy as hell, doesn't know how to party without dope. We got him. We got him. He has no idea how to party without getting wasted. He has no idea how to celebrate anything without drugs. We got him. We have to relearn all of these things. That's the reality. That's what it means to be sober. Relearning every single thing you thought you knew. Because we didn't study any of that, right? We had a program. We had something in place to help us cope with a very difficult life. Life is difficult. I don't care who you are. It is a very, very difficult thing. And we coped with it. Our plan, our go-to was, I'm going to get wasted. That's how I get through life. And I heard somebody the other day say this, and I thought it was really funny. But you got to at least give them credit, because they're trying to figure out a way to cope with life. They're trying to figure out something. They know that they're not built exactly quite right. And they're uncomfortable all the time. At least they're seeking a way to try to figure it out. They find the worst way possible. But if they were seeking it once, they'll be willing to seek it again. You found yourself seeking an answer, and then you found booze, or you found, whatever, heroin. But if you were seeking once, you need to start seeking again, because this plan is a hell of a lot better. As somebody typed in the comment section the other day, man, I love being sober. I absolutely love being sober. There are people who listen to the sound of my voice right now that think that's the dumbest thing they've ever heard, because I used to be that guy. I'm telling you. Really, I was. I couldn't believe people said stuff like that. My motto was, if you're not wasted, the day is. I used to say that out loud. But I'm telling you, it's a miserable existence. It is an absolutely miserable existence. And this is an opportunity right now. This is the open window. This is the time where you can say, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore, but I don't think I can do it alone. Your brain doesn't ever want you to ask for help. Your brain doesn't want you to do any of these things. Your brain is not your friend. Your brain is not your friend. Fortunately, you can find an awful lot of friends on this boat, right, who are quite willing to take on that fist fight with your, with your brain. We're there for you on that. And then the last one, and I know you think we've covered it, but we talked about shame. There's a difference between guilt and shame, right? Truthfully, you can be ashamed of something that you didn't do anything wrong, and you can still feel shame, right? Shame can come in places where, people fat shame. Right? People you can literally make a person feel ashamed of their family, all kinds of things that they didn't do anything wrong. Guilt is completely different. Guilt, you need to do something to feel guilty. You need to do something to feel guilty. And your brain is going to run wild with guilt. And the reason is painfully obvious. Because the entire time you've been getting wasted, the drug has been taking away the guilt. So the cycle goes something like this. Man, I feel so guilty. I'm such a piece of crap. You get high. Everything feels good. Then you start getting sober and you go, oh my God, I got high yesterday after I said I was never going to do it again. I feel so guilty. And then you get high. And 15 years later, the time has come to try to do something about it. But it's the exact same situation, right? The only way to not feel guilty is to do dope, which makes you feel more guilty. It's a vicious cycle. It is a vicious, vicious cycle. So this could be an entire show. So if you missed it, I'm going to do this one real quick. But listen, if you struggle with the disease concept, don't. If you struggle with the disease concept, it's probably because somebody in society convinced you that, man, this is your damn fault. You can't just get out of jail free card by saying, well, I got a disease. I didn't do anything wrong. There's a big difference. There is a really big difference. Number one, you did do something wrong. Every single thing you did wrong. You stole from friends, right? You lied to friends. You stole from family. You lied to them. You hurt people. You ruined marriages, right? All of the different things that we did, that's us. You got to own that. I own everything I've ever done. But I know damn well I wasn't at the helm when it happened. I have that disease. Now, if I had never gotten high, the fact that I had that disease wouldn't matter. Plain and simple. It wouldn't matter. It would still be laying dormant in there. I got a daughter and a son, right? You know who my son is. We've been talking about him. My daughter's never used anything. Therefore, she's not a drug addict. But trust and believe she's a drug addict waiting to happen. If ever there's been a girl who is already addicted to drugs but just hasn't found one, I am telling you right now, she is a genetic time bomb. Her mom, her dad, her grandfathers, grandfather, she really just doesn't have a chance. Just like my son didn't. Doesn't have a chance at trying to control anything. Fortunately, I have beat that into her, and so has her mom. And I think that, but it is a disease. It is a verifiable, testable, right? You can actually do a test and look at people's brains and say, that one is an addicted brain. That one is not. And I don't mean, well, obviously, if you're high. No. I mean baseline. No drugs in the system, no nothing. The brain works differently on someone who is a drug addict. There are parts of the brain that fire way more. There are parts of the brain that don't fire at all. I shouldn't say that. They fire very little, right? So the drug addicted brain shows heightened activity in one part of the brain and marked decrease in another part of the brain. And it is consistent from patient to patient to patient to patient. The drug addicted mind can be tested. And that was the only thing that we needed for it to be called a disease, because it's a disease. In the next 12 months, you're going to find out that somebody you care about has cancer. You wouldn't dream to blame them. You wouldn't dream to say, well, that's what they get. They're weak. I told them, I told them, you better start doing stuff right, or you're going to end up with cancer. Nobody would ever say anything that stupid, right? Nobody would ever say anything that stupid. But they don't hesitate to say that to a drug addict. Well, that's what you get. Partying all the time. I told you what was going to happen if you kept doing it. I told you, didn't I tell you? Boy, oh boy, you would never say that. So if you don't want guilt to eat you alive, you better get a real handle on this disease concept. And then you better figure out the tightrope that you have to walk between I did this and it's on me. But I'm not going to sit here and let the guilt of it destroy me for the rest of my life because I was born with a damn disease. I'll take responsibility for getting high. I'll take responsibility for doing dope for that first 7 to 10 days. The rest of it, that was out of my control. It really was. And it doesn't mean I'm going to say, it's not my fault I stole from your house. You've seen me, people. I own every single thing that I've ever done. I don't shy away from anything. I own my past. But I'll tell you right now, I don't allow the guilt to eat me alive. Because I wasn't at the helm. This is Captain Tommy. I assure you, Captain Tommy was not at the helm when I was doing heroin. No chance. The dope was at the helm. Every decision I made, there's an expression you hear very often in AA. And they say, you know what, you only choose to have that first beer because that first beer chooses to have the second. And that first and second choose the third. And that first, second, and third choose the fourth. And then so on until you get to the ninth one, and then they choose to go get you arrested. You just chose that first drink. That really is the way this is, people. We have a disease. We absolutely have a disease. Doesn't get you off, you're not getting a get out of jail free pass. Doesn't mean that you don't have to take responsibility for the things that you've done. Hell, I went to prison 3 times. I paid my debt to society. And I've taken complete responsibility for the things that I've done. But I know why I did them. I didn't do them because of a defective character. I didn't do them because of dishonesty. I didn't do them because I'm a bad person. I did them because I have a disease that I couldn't control. And I had this illusion in my head that maybe I could control it. I was delusional enough to believe that if maybe I just did it on the weekends, or maybe if I stopped smoking the crap or stopped shooting the crap at 5 o'clock at night, or maybe if I did, we all did it, right? We all did it. I'm not going to drink on weekends, or I'm only going to drink on weekends. Never going to drink on weekdays, and then you start drinking on weekdays, but never before work, and then you start drinking before work. But only 6 shots, because then I won't be out of control. And then you got a fifth in your, in your truck, and you're hitting it every 15 minutes. Or you're shooting dope in the porta potty on the job site, whatever the case may be. But you know what I'm saying? You have a disease. Get intimate with that concept, with the disease concept. Get intimate with it. Understand that you weren't in control of your actions when you were using. You still got to own it. You still got to own it. But you don't have to beat the crap out of yourself for it for the rest of your life. There's nothing productive to that. It doesn't pay off. And it's not real. Yeah, beautiful. I can stop anytime I want to. I had a friend that used to say, I can stop anytime I want to. I just haven't wanted to ever. And we would laugh about it. And I'm sure wherever he is right now, he probably doesn't think it's so funny. People, I am going to start, this is the time where I go, and I'll just throw this on. And now I will start seeing comments all over the place. Noise Opera, good to see you, man. Bert Miranda, glad you're here. Stacy Michaels, good to see you. 15-minute news slot on fent and xylazine. Let's see. Let me back up and see where that was at. Full of hope. It seems that Indian news channels know more about the USA drug problem than Americans do. Yes, you're absolutely right. And not just India, but all over the world. People are talking about this problem. All over the world they are, except here. Except here. You know why? Because they want to bury it. They absolutely want to bury it. That's why they say things like, the biggest problem facing our country is guns. Because they don't want the narrative to be about, what's going on in this country. There are politicians who have to view this as an error on their part, that they're destroying the country. They don't want that. Do whatever they can not to do that. So they will try to pick anything else all over, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, guns. Charlie Mullins, I hope your mom is feeling better. Charlie, been praying for her. We had a good discussion about addiction at a Bible study today. Hopefully you'll get some new subs. You know something, people? If we get new subs, we get new subs. I wasn't just saying that in the beginning. I really, honestly, we're doing great. We're reaching people. Yesterday was a good day for me because it really opened my eyes. And that doesn't happen very often, but yesterday was huge. Hi, Tommy, and sorry if I didn't reply to anyone earlier. I've been on the road. Well, please be safe. Cultivate Kindness says new subs are coming, though. I know it. They probably will. It tends to go in waves. It tends to go in waves. I've seen that before, but I'm never concentrating on that again. And I'm never going to pull punches. I'm never going to not say the truth because I'm afraid of how many people I'm going to run off. The truth is the truth. It's the beautiful thing about the truth, right? Thank you, Crazy Cat. I really appreciate it. That's a nice thing to say. I'm Crazy Brookfield. Good to see you. Proud of you for that, Tommy. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. My brother said this was a good show. You know what? I like it when I pass my older brothers. If he approves, that's a good thing. I'm pretty fond of my older brother. We are a family regardless of the number of subs and always will be. No question. And we are growing. Coburn Spencer says, let me see. Doesn't want to go back down here. I'm focusing on myself and my dreams. Good. And Coburn's new here. He's a new sub on the boat. Been here a couple of weeks. And acclimated about that fast. I love it when that happens. I really do. Charlotte, your squirrel. Good to see you, bub. I promise to stay the course. Trish Killian, I promise you. A lady there had 2 sons on days back to back that OD'd. Oh, one is in jail and one is doing better. A lady had back-to-back ODs in her family, people. You know how often you're going to be hearing things like this? It's awful, and it's going to get worse. There's no way it's not going to get worse. It was pretty bad when it was just fent. And now that, we've got, the ninazine, that whole family, phytomenazole, all of benzomidazole, all of that entire family of drugs, and then throw in xylazine, which is just, good Lord, it is a tranquilizer for a horse. You realize that horses weigh a couple of tons? That's really what we need in our body, right? It's a miracle Mama Scoville didn't bury us. Boy, you are not kidding. You are not kidding. Miss Dragon, we also had government cheese. You know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I ate a bunch of government cheese growing up. It was not, my family didn't get it, but it was one of those things that I lived in a very small town. I mean, ridiculously small town. And they would put it out at every single meal in the elementary school because there were a lot of families there that kind of needed it. And it was just, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. You'd sit down at a table and there'd be 3 or 4 blocks of it. I actually got really, really fond of it. Half a ton that can run 30 miles an hour. Go for broke. Welcome. He be making like a beeline, headed for the borderline, going for broke. What is it? Lido Shuffle. Go for broke. Glad that you're here. Really am. And if you missed the beginning of the show, at least you're here when the chat's still going on. I'm telling you, people get here after the fact, they think I talk to myself. I've read everything Dick Francis has written. True story. I bet a lot of you don't know who that is, but I have read every single book that Dick Francis has written. I'm not kidding. I I ended up in a place where that was the only option. There was nothing else to read. And he's written a bunch of them. If you don't know who Dick Francis is, every single one of his stories has horses in it. Very often race horses.
Did you read my stuff?
Very often race horses. Not necessarily every time, but it's actually really cool. He's a really cool author, but I have read every single thing that he's done, which is just somewhat odd, to be sure. Lido missed the boat that day. There's so much craziness and change going on in my life. I wouldn't even know where to start to explain it yet. I'm still at mom's though. Let me see here. Don't quit before the miracle. Gladys O. Kravitz, or Gladys Q. Kravitz. What a great comment. Don't quit before the miracle. Man, that is one of the coolest comments that anybody has ever left on the boat. Gladys Kravitz, if you're still here, that is such a cool comment. Because I've had this conversation with Johnny, I've had it with so many people, and it happens every single day. It is one of the most depressing things. Adam sent me. He says this is where it's at. Thank you, Adam. You know what? Adam wrote our theme song. Adam has been really, really good to the lifeboat. He really has. He doesn't miss a chance to give us a plug. If you want to shoot me an email at sober@myyahoo.com so we can touch base. That way when I look out on the boat and I see I have some idea of what you're going through, and I can sort of bring you up to speed so that, you can go back and watch every one of the videos. There's only like 700. Or I can kind of bring you up to speed on some of the tenets of what we do here on the lifeboat, so it'll be a little bit easier to understand. So when you hear stuff like, got to get the 5, or any of the stuff that we're talking about, it'll make sense to you, and it won't feel like it's a club that you're not in. Yeah, there's horses in every single one of the... I remember 2 of them where there was no racing taking place, but there's one that stuck out where they went in anyway. But they went to a house and there were 2 racehorses that had been buried there, and he was trying to figure out who did it or whatever. But it's always racehorses. It's always equine stuff. The Black Stallion series. Why do I feel like I've heard of that? Don't quit before the miracle. Thank you. I needed that. I've been too close to quitting, but getting better now. Yeah, you know what? People, no one here is quitting. We're not having it. Guys, I'm laying down. Have a blessed night and keep living your best life. M. Hunt, love you, brother. I really do. If you guys haven't seen the picture of M. Hunt with his watch, or Mr. Wolf with his watch, you can stop over on Safe Harbor and get a look at it. It's pretty cool. Noise Opera, I have a home in another state, but I'm just staying to help take care of my mom. Her health is fading. She's at 90 pounds. Oh, man, I'm so sorry. I really am. Thoughts and prayers, huh? For CK? For Cultivate Kindness, please. Thoughts and prayers as she's going through this with her mom. Obviously, prayers for her mom as well, but there's Gladys Kravitz. Don't quit before the miracle. Boy, that would make a hell of a shirt right there. I really would. That would make a hell of a shirt. They're over on the Facebook page, Stacy Michaels. They're posted on the Lifeboat page on Facebook. I'm helping my dad transition. God bless you. I mean it. God bless you. You know what, peeps? That brings us to that magical time in the show where I get a hold. Mr. Wolf, good to see you. Where I get an opportunity to heft this cat who's getting fatter by the day and harder to pick up. I'm not kidding. She's a beefy cat. Charlie Murphy says, leave a comment after the show. It helps. I really appreciate that. Seriously, I could not have said it better, and I kind of needed that. Don't quit before the miracle. Go for broke. Listen one more time. It's probably in the Dropbox, but it's sober, S-O-B-E-R, at my Yahoo, not Yahoo. This has tripped people up in the past. It's at myyahoo.com. So I'll wait for your email and I'll be getting back to you. And I'm really glad that you're here. I'm glad that Marv sent you. That's great. Bert Miranda, have a great night. Charlie Murphy, you have a good night there. If they see Charlie, that's the spirit. Schrodinger Squirrel and Zenwen, they're all calling for the furry feline. Alrighty, peeps, I'm going to be back on the 5. So I'll be back tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. And we'll start this thing all over again, all right? Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. And that is a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you.